How's it going, everybody? In this video, we get some brand new 31s mounted onto the Datsun and make some big changes for our axle plans. Stay tuned. Look at her pretty new shoes. Those are 31 by 10.5 R15 tires, so we got 31-inch tires. And these are actually on old Wagoneer rims. I was able to find some decent wheels, well, decent-ish wheels, in the local area. So this thing's gonna be looking pretty legit. So there's our beautiful 31 right next to the stock tire. I think it's like 25 or 26.5. It's not that big, it's quite a difference. I know before I said I was gonna put 27s on it, but just sort of like eyeball measuring the difference 27s would make, I wanna go for 31s. So what are we doing here today? You can see in front of me, we got our axles all gutted, took them out for a little cleaning. Well, these have to be shortened. If you've got a keen eye, you could probably see that these axles are very wide. These are Jeep Wagoneer Chieftain on top of that axles, so they're extra long. These front ones are 65 inches wheel to wheel mounting surface, and this back one is 60. Usually it's 60 and 57, but not these ones. These are extra long. And for context, this axle in the back is 53 inches wide, which is quite a bit shorter, more than 10 inches in the front. So to give you an idea of how small this truck is, 53-inch axles, you would find something like that on a old CJ or a Samurai. That is how small this truck is. And these Dana 44s are way too wide. And the reason why I got these new tires mounted on the wheels so early in the game is that these axles have to be shortened. And I decided I want 30-inch tires or 31-inch tires, and we can just shorten these axles to match. We got to shorten them. We got to do all this custom fabrication crap, and might as well make it to fit the parts that we want. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and measure everything. I would like to get these axles under the body if possible. Legally, they have to be under the body. I don't want to be running goofy fender flares. A lot of the people in this area have the old honky-tonk 20-inch fake bead lockers that stick out like 2-3 inches out of their truck, and you know, cops don't bother them. So if I'm sticking out like 2 inches, I think I'll be okay. But anyway, we got to start measuring. We got to start writing stuff down, and that'll help us on our way. So as you can see, I got a bunch of BS piled on this frame, and the first thing I want to do is I want to see how tall it is now. I remember it was pretty tall. I think it might have been like 11 or 12 inches. 12 inches on the money. That is pretty respectable lift right off the bat. I don't really have a goal for this. Honestly, if the suspension sits the same way it does, and I just do an axle flip lift, I will be a happy man. So here is our bed. I already measured this, but that's 1 foot. So those wheels, like I said, the tires are 10.5 wide, so they should be able to fit in those wheel wells, and that's about 38.5 wide. So this thing is about 60.5 inches wide, the whole body. So you can see why we're gonna have trouble with those extra wide axles. So out of curiosity's sake, I'm just gonna measure this wheel offset. It's like 5 1/4. 5 1/4. So there's no offset. It's pretty much directly in the middle either way. So if we were stuffing all that under the body, our axle would be 49.5 inches. Yeah, that's pretty short. That's even shorter than what we got there. And I think what would happen is this wheel would interfere with the frame. So we could scratch that idea right off the drawing board. We're gonna be hanging out at least a little bit. So I'm gonna grab another tire. We're gonna stick them up here against the frame in a way that looks nice, and then I'll just measure wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface. So these stock wheels, they stick out like 1 1/4 1 1/8. Get that a little closer. Okay, there we go. That's thereabouts where it's gonna sit. Let's see how long it is. Don't you be breaking on me now, you flimsy little stinker. No, how could this have happened? Really? 53 still? Will 53 really do it? I'm kind of curious. Since these ones are 53 inches, I think what I'm gonna do just for funsies is take all these new tires, stick them on there, check that offset, see what I think. Well, you can see right here, well, I can see right here, that the offset is really different here. Like I said, that one's in the middle, it got a neutral offset, and this one is, for the life of me, I don't remember. But the wheel mounting surface is further out on the wheel for this bad boy. Well, would you look at that? That looks beautiful. Went ahead and got the 31s on all 4 corners. And now we're gonna do some quick measuring, see how things look. This one was, yeah, it's about the same offset there. And, you know, you could put a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch spacer there if I feel like later. Stuck them on the front too. I'm gonna list these wheels. Old wheels make a bit of money back, but that doesn't look too bad either. Let's check our lift. This is just tires, nothing else. Well, that's like 2 inches right there. 2 inches of lift just from tires. And I even stacked a bunch of stuff on here to sort of mimic the weight. That's not true. I stacked stuff on here because I'm lazy, and this takes up like half my garage. This is a game changer. So the fact that this stock axle works so well is really awesome. There's a lot of things that have just been reshuffled in my noodle. See, like I said before, I was really planning on shortening that Dana 44 and sticking it in the back. If you could see it, you could actually see it on this side. It's got a long tube, and even if I shortened it down to 53, it's still gonna have a bias. There would be a lot of benefits to using this stock differential, but a bit of negatives. One, this is an open differential. It's not limited slip, it's not a locker, nothing fancy like that. Just an open diff, and it probably doesn't have a lot of aftermarket support to make it that way. From what I understand, my memory's a little fuzzy with these Datsun things. This is a good differential. People want these. Maybe it's strong, maybe it's not. But there are a lot of considerations, a lot of things that I need to work out. So I'm probably gonna go off camera, do a little tick, figure out what I wanna do. Cause, you know, girlfriend would say, as an artist, you should always use as much of the original art as you possibly can. And I do firmly believe this Datsun is art. It is beautiful. So I'd love to use this if I can. If you can see down there, it doesn't have the axle flip lift. If we do flip this axle, it would get, I'm gonna eyeball 4 inches there. About 3. So we would be, we'll round that up to 4. Once you get a perch on there, call that 4, 15 plus 4, 19 inches off the ground. It was 14 plus 4, 18 inches off the ground. That's still pretty good. So I'm gonna go. With the magic of editing, I will have decided by then. Okay, I have returned from my rumination, and long story short, this rear axle will work with what we're planning to do. Let me break that down a little bit. This rear axle is an H190. It's what it's known in the Datsun world, and apparently it can hold quite a lot of power. People say 300 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I'm not as familiar with the Datsun forums. I don't know how full of crap they are compared to like the Volkswagen guys. But that's a good sign. I think we'll have plenty of power for what we need. Got no risk of breaking this thing really, because I'm just going to be using a Volkswagen TDI. That doesn't really make a lot of power. It'll maybe make 150 foot-pounds of torque if we push it. So that's good. This will work. But this particular axle in the back of this 521, this H190, it has a rear ratio of 4.3 to 1. Now that's a little bit strange. They do make a ring and pinion for the Dana 44 to match that, a 4.3 to 1. It's not one of the standard ones, so it's a little bit more expensive than what you see it, but it's $300 expensive. It's not like thousands of dollars, kind of like I was worrying it might be. This rear end also can, it does have some traction options that we can use. Was a little bit worried that there would just be nothing for it. It's just open, or you could weld it if you want. But this axle was used all the way into the two-wheel drive hard bodies. So that's like into the late 90s. These were still used. And some of these did have limited slip differentials. So that's a good option. I can use limited slips. And back in the day, they did also make Detroit lockers for these, probably from back when, you know, you could race Datsuns just the way people race Subarus, just no big deal. So they do have a Detroit locker for these. But I'm probably not going to worry about either of those things. When they do pop up for sale, you know, they might be a little expensive. I could just cruise the junkyard and wait until I find a hard body with a limited slip. That's definitely the kind of thing that I would do. And it would be pretty cheap. And I'm pretty patient. I can wait for that to happen. I don't need to have anything in it just yet. So I think we're looking pretty good. We can have that 4.3. Now that we know we can have that 4.3 in each axle, next the question is, okay, we've significantly lowered our gear ratios. These used to have 3.54s in them, and now they have 4.3 to 1s. That's a lot. So can we still use this on the highway? Yes. So at 2,500 RPM with our Toyota R150F and this 4.3 to 1 and these 31-inch tires, at 65 miles an hour, the engine will be turning 2,500 RPM, and at 75 would be going $3,000. So little high, totally doable. 65 on the highway, no one's gonna hate you for that. Also, this thing is a brick, so you know, we might not want to cruise 75 anyway. So it'll still work. I don't want to be trailering this thing anywhere. It's got to be able to go around, fetch parts, do truck stuff. So even with this axle ratio, it will still work.